And it looks like I'm live. Let me just make sure everything is good over on my page on Facebook. I have it shared to Facebook, so if you're on there, you can look at it from my page. Let me just let them know I am live. All right. Okay, let me make sure I turn this down so we're not interrupted with constant notifications, if you know what I mean. Like that. All right, so we are here on day 2 of the Lupus Awareness Inspirational Motivational Challenge, right? This is day 2. I started it yesterday, and it is inspired by this book that I've been reading called Fragrance After Rain by Dr. Jaiya John. So there are different passages in the book that I've taken out, and over the next, I actually have everything all written out. Over the next 31 days until the end of May, I'm going to be reading a certain passage and then doing a message based on that, related to lupus awareness, related to healing, that sort of thing, right? So today is the message is from page 231, and it's healing can be a joyful thing. But the passage that actually inspired this whole lupus awareness, 31 days of lupus awareness that I'm doing, is from page 55. She woke one day believing in her healing more than she believed in her suffering. Her soul rejoiced and flowered. So that is the passage that actually inspired me to do this 31 days of lupus awareness, but I'm doing it in a different format than most people would, right? Because I am not in the same place that I was when I was initially diagnosed. I I'm way way ahead of that, so that I wanted to do it from a place of inspiration, from a place of motivation, from a place of healing. So that's what I'm doing. So today, like I said, is day 2, and the passage for today comes from page 231, and it says, healing can be a joyful thing, a wonderfully untidy personal art project, a hallelujah in your house of soul. And initially, when I read that, the part that actually stood out to me was the section that says, a wonderfully untidy personal art project. Because if you've been diagnosed with a chronic illness of any kind, we know that the healing process is anything but pretty. It's not a straight line, right? We most of the time we tend to think of, when we're healing, it's kind of a steady, incline back to health, right? But we all know that that is not what it looks like. Zion Mountain says, I believe in self-healing myself. So we know that healing is not this pretty straight line. Some days you're feeling really good, and some days you're amazing, and then there's like a big dip, and then there's a fluctuation, and then maybe there's a spiral in there somewhere, and then maybe we have kind of a plateau, and then so it's not a pretty kind of journey when we're talking about healing. So this is the part that I really wanted to talk about today. And, in addition to the fact that healing can be a joyful thing, right? And we want it to be joyful because joy is actually what's going to propel us toward that healing. When we're in a constant depressed mood, or constantly in pain, that actually keeps our ability to heal down, right? it suppresses us. Hi, Kathleen. Good to have you here. So we definitely want to be in a place of joy. The place of joy actually propels us toward healing, right? And there was a passage that I found in the Bible, and this is not going to be like a biblical study by a long shot, but there was a passage in there in Proverbs 17, verse 22, and it says, "A merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones." So even right there, it's telling us that when we are joyful, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what situation we might be going through, when we are joyful, it actually puts us on a place, on a healing path. But a broken spirit actually dries the bones, and basically says that, we're not going anywhere near a healing path whatsoever. One key to walking in divine health is learning how to rejoice and be filled with joy. Now, I'm going to be the first to tell you that it is not easy to be joyful when you're dealing with pain. I completely understand, having been in that place. So if you've been diagnosed with, whether it be lupus or Sjogren's or whatever the particular illness is that you might have gotten your diagnosis with, um, if there's pain involved, I know that it is not easy to be joyful when you're dealing with a lot of pain. The thing is to practice putting yourself in a place of, exactly, Zion Mountain, positive attitude. You have to practice putting yourself in that space of joy, regardless of how much pain you're in. And it does take a lot of practice in order to get to that place, so that, when the pain hits, rather than dive into this depressed state, you can, I don't want to say will yourself, but that's pretty much what it comes down to, is kind of will yourself into that space of joy, so that the what you'll find is that the pain doesn't really last as long as you don't really pay much attention to the pain as much, because the joyous space that you put yourself into actually helps with the healing that you're actually on your journey towards, right? Because I know what it's like. I've been in that place where it was just constant pain, but I've also been in the place now where I can tell you that when you've practiced to find that space of joy, that it does put you on to that path of healing. All right. So that is one key to walking in divine health, is just learning how to rejoice, being filled with joy, no matter what circumstances you're going to, because the joy is actually going to bring healing to your body, or at least start the healing process, right? And joy it's not a feeling. It's, there might be some arguments that it is, but it's a choice that you make regardless of what's happening in your life, right? Kathleen says, "I'm working on joy right now." Zion says, "At times people isolate themselves and you have to find activities that can put you in a different mind setting." Exactly. And that's one of the things I'm going to be talking about, are the different types of activities that you can actually do to put you in that place of joy. And they're all things that you should love doing, things that you're already doing that bring you joy. So I'm not going to suggest, go out there and find something completely new. If that's what it takes, yes. Because if you're doing something now that doesn't bring you joy, then what's the point, right? You want to be doing something that brings you joy, and that way that helps you to heal. Because if you're doing something that you absolutely hate doing, it's not helping you any, right? All healing systems recognize joy as being a beneficial factor in the restoration of health. So whether we're talking about Ayurvedic medicine, whether we're talking about traditional Chinese medicine, whether we're talking about Western medicine, they all look at joy as being a beneficial factor. None of them are going to tell you, "Oh, you're depressed. Oh, that's not a big deal. You still get better." No, if they're going to tell you, find something that you enjoy doing that is going to help you to put you on that path, that's going to create that joy in your life for you. Heather says, you look beautiful. Love your eye makeup. Thanks, Heather. Let me talk about that for a little bit. Since we're talking about doing things that, bring you joy. Years ago, when I was first diagnosed, and this might help someone out there, I don't know who, but there was a time when I couldn't get out of bed because I was so much pain. And the last thing you want to do is, get up and go take a shower and do all of the things, right? But it actually helps you with healing, right? So I would force myself to get out of bed, go and take a shower, and then I would climb back into bed. You put on another a cute little outfit as best as you could, but I would not put any makeup on my face because it just took too much work. But the funny thing is that is something that actually brings me joy. I love playing with makeup. I know I'm a grown woman and I love playing with makeup. And this time of the year, it's getting hotter and it's carnival season and different places are having, all of these different festivals. So I love, putting on that brighter color makeup, especially around my eyes, right? And that's one of the things that brings me joy is just playing around with makeup. I'm an artist, and a lot of you may not know that, but this is just another art form to me. Pulling out my different palettes that I have and just experimenting with all of the different eye colors. And that's what I've been doing the last couple of days now that, things are warming up. And even having some very simple bright colored shirts that you can just throw on, even color, right? Having some bright colors that you can put on helps to elevate your mood as well, and that brings you joy. So if it's makeup that brings you joy, playing around with makeup, do it, because that's one of the things that I love doing. And I know several people, and I'm going to be bringing on a few guests throughout the next month. And one of the ladies that I'm going to be bringing on, she's been diagnosed with a particular condition to where she is in absolute excruciating pain virtually all the time. And I don't remember the particular diagnosis, but what she does for her makeup is something that she loves doing. So she takes part in all of these different challenges, makeup challenges. She pulls in other people and she does collaborations with them, and that is something that is actually helping her with her on her healing journey. So if makeup is one of the things for you, then do it. By all means, do it, because you know what? If it's something that you like to do, forget and just do it. That's all I'm saying. People may look at you and say, "Well, you're a grown woman. What are you doing playing around with? Leave that to the teenagers or to the young people." No, that's something that you love to do. Do it. Yes, you are absolutely right, Zion. Self-love is very important, and self-care is also very important. That's all tied in. So if you're lying in bed and there's you're not able to kind of get around, but you have a bag of makeup, do it. Just sit there, play around with your colors, post a picture on Instagram, inspire someone else. Because at the end of the day, you don't know who is watching that actually needs to see you put on that makeup and be inspired themselves. If that is all that it takes for someone, right? All right. So, like I mentioned, I am an artist, and we're always experimenting in different things. I've done painting. I've done the sculptures with different types of media. I've worked in clay. I've worked in paper. Even saran wrap. I've taught my students to create these amazing sculptures out of saran wrap. So I've done a lot of different experimenting with different types of material, and the makeup is just another medium, right? So other things that I've worked with include sound tools, and I shared some of those yesterday when I talked about tuning, with pain being a tuning instrument. So I shared a couple of my tuning forks. Um, you can also do things like art therapy, and art therapy could be going outside in nature, collecting leaves, collecting rocks, collecting seeds, creating some kind of a collage right there in nature, or you could bring it inside and actually glue it down onto a surface, however you want to work with that. You could create a sacred space or a safe space, some kind of another word, a cozy corner, right? Kind of like a cozy corner in your home where it is specifically for you, where you can go. Maybe you can light a couple of candles. Um, you have a glass of tea. You have some books, maybe some crayons and some coloring books that you can just sit there and just kind of help to bring yourself down to a sense of calm, right? It could be like a meditation corner. Maybe you have some malas that you work with in the corner to meditate. Whatever it is that's considered a sacred space or a cozy corner or a safe corner for you, then create that, right? Whatever it is that is going to bring you joy, have those things in that sacred space. One of the other things is to consider your emotional needs, consider your physical boundaries that you want to create when you're in that sacred space. What thoughts are inspiring your particular, what do you consider to be safety for you, or sacred for you could be different from what I consider to be sacred as well. So whatever those things are that come to mind, create that in your sacred space, right? Whatever little items that are going to bring you comfort, have those there as well. Could be a pillow, could be a cozy blanket, could be a little throw, whatever those are. So the idea is to kind of rewire our brain when it comes to dealing with pain and trying to be joyful at the same time, right? Because I know there are a lot of people who are diagnosed with these chronic illnesses and find it so hard to get to that place of joy when the pain hits, right? But so it's just a matter of rewiring your brain to be joyful no matter what kind of circumstances you're in, no matter how painful the situation or how painful the physical response is to the illness is at that time. One of the things that you can work with is called NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and the common term for it is tapping, right? And you can do a lot of research on that. There are a lot of videos on YouTube where you can find tapping to help relieve pain, tapping for money blockages, tapping for quite a few different things. It's used in a lot of different for a lot of different topics, right? So you can find tapping videos that do deal with relieving pain, and they typically go through the session maybe 3 times, and what you'll find is the pain is relieved, your whole, I want to say, vibration is raised at the same time, and healing is taking place even though you don't necessarily see it at that point, right? So it's that's tapping. You can what I call connection, and that would be connecting with people on Zoom. You could connect with people in person as long as you're doing what you need to do to remain safe. Because I understand, people. Yes, music is also very therapeutic, and I was going to talk about that, music and dancing. But when it comes to connecting with people outside, make sure you're taking the precautions, because, if you're dealing with an autoimmune condition, I know that your immune system might not be quite where everyone else is, so you do have to take those precautions. But connecting, because the last couple of years we've been told, isolate, 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 right? And now that the world is kind of opening up a little bit more, you still want to take some precautions, but you do want to connect with people, and that also helps. So enjoying the small moments. You could be walking out, like right now. I know you might see me looking up quite a bit because I positioned my table to where I can see outside, so I don't have that, half shadow and half light. And there's a lake in front. There are water lilies. There are the sandhill cranes that are maybe 20 feet away from me. And it's just a beautiful scene. It's just an amazing scene. Just so I'm sitting here and I'm, speaking to all of you and enjoying your company, but I'm also being having this amazing view in front of me, and that's just it's a small thing, but yet it's a really big thing, right? So enjoying those little moments that pop up in your life. It could be as small as having a cup of tea in your little cozy corner, right? Or it could be as big as a hug from somebody that you care about. Or maybe it's a phone call that you get, an unexpected phone call that you get from someone that you haven't heard from in a while. So those precious moments are, those moments of joy that we really need to cherish. You could also make what I call response art. I mentioned about going outside, collecting the leaves and rocks and beads and stuff, and creating a piece of natural art outside, or bringing it in and creating it on a piece of canvas or another board. You could also, like Zion said, um, you could put on some music and you could sing, you could dance, you could get a big sheet of canvas with some paints or markers, whatever the case might be, and you could create a response to the piece of music that you're listening to. And it could be like just scribbles, or you could allow your body to move, allow your hands to just, perfect time for hand doing finger painting. You could dip your fingers into clay. You could dip your fingers into paint, and just allow your hands to move as you're listening to the music, and just create some finger painting that way. It's just, if whatever brings you joy. For me, the finger painting thing is a lot of fun, um, and it allows you to be free. Zion said, learning to play an instrument. Yes, that is another one. You can play if you already know how to play an instrument, pull your instrument out, right? There's a piano here, and I was saying to myself last night, I said, Gina, it's been a while since you sat down to play, and I would sit down and play almost every day, right? So last night I said to myself, I have to put that into my schedule to make sure I do give myself that time, because I love playing the piano. And I actually play several other instruments as well. But it doesn't even have to be an instrument. You could, if you have a rain stick, it could be something as simple as sitting there playing the rain stick, or the drum. I have a drum, so I occasionally play that. Or it could be rattling. If you have a rattle, it could be really simple. You could take some beads or some buttons, throw into a container, seal it, and you have a rattle. So it doesn't have to be anything expensive that you go out to buy. It could be something that you make yourself. Kathleen saying creating new healthy dishes. Yes, cooking. Zion says cooking also. It's like it is an art form. Cooking is an art, right? And I did a teaching recently in a group that I'm in, where I taught them all about food being an extension of the divine. And your meal time isn't when you sit down to eat. Your meal time actually starts from when you're preparing your food in the kitchen, right? All of that time is sacred, right? It starts there, from the preparing of the food to the cooking of the food to actually sitting down and eating, whether it's by yourself or you're eating with your family members or with friends. Right? All of those things, they all contribute to healing, right? Because if it's something that you enjoy doing, then do it. Oh, Brenda, welcome. She says, I understand how nature plays an important role in your mental health. Thanks for reminding me of that. Yes, every day I go outside, even if it's for 10 minutes, and typically it's a lot more than that, because I have a beautiful view out here, and I go out there bare feet because I do like what we call earthing. So I go and I reconnect myself to the magnetic field, my magnetic field to the earth's, and I get healing that way as well. And I'm not even consciously thinking about it, but it's happening. And then of course I sit there and I just watch the birds, or sometimes I grab my camera and I will photograph the birds, or I'll do videos of the birds. Sometimes I'm sitting so still that I will have birds come within inches of me. Like the sandhill cranes, actually, they would they'll come up to me and actually eat out of my hand. I've got them spoiled. But the other day I was outside and a great blue heron. I was so still because I was trying to photograph some wildflowers that were on the ground. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this shadow, and I realized that it was a great blue heron, which usually would fly away, but this was within, I want to say, about 10 feet of me. And I just stayed as still as I could, moved my camera as slowly as I could, and got some amazing photographs of this great blue heron up close. So just moments like that, it kind of makes you forget all of whatever bad things that might be going on in the world or going on in your life, whatever the case is. Zion says, I'm from the Caribbean living in Canada, and we put love in our cooking. Zion, yes, now you know. Now you know. Let me tell a little story. I was cooking with someone. I was actually teaching her how to cook a particular dish because I was born in the Cayman Islands, grew up in Jamaica. I know how to cook. They know how to cook. And this she said to me, she says, how is it that when you cook a certain dish, it tastes so amazing, and when I cook the same dish, it doesn't taste the same, even though I gave her the exact ingredients, same ingredients, all of that, right? And I said to her, well, I have a secret ingredient. She said, you mean you held out on me? I said, no, I didn't actually. My secret ingredient is love. When you're cooking, that it shows because whoever is eating it tastes different. It tastes amazing because you're putting in that extra ingredient called love. And love should go into everything that you do, right? And that's what Zion was saying. I'm from the Caribbean, living in Canada, and we put love in our cooking, and it really does show. And that's one of the things that I teach is that when you're cooking, when your food or mealtime doesn't begin when you sit down to eat. It begins when you're prepping your food. It begins when you're cooking your food. All of that is part of mealtime, and all of that is a sacred event, right? I think we've gotten to a place where it's all fast food, and we cook fast, we eat fast. We don't take the time to really enjoy the process, right? We should enjoy the process. Think about what you're going to be cooking. Think about what spices you're going to be putting in there. Think about, how you're going to be cooking, all of the pots that you're bringing out. What is playing in the background? The music, play some soft music. Are you on your phone while you're cooking? That shouldn't be. You should have a nice serene environment whenever you're cooking, right? Because what you are cooking, what you're thinking is going into the food. And then of course you're blessing the food. And I actually, as I'm putting in different herbs and spices into my food, I am saying what I want each spice to do, because each spice is there for a reason. We don't just randomly throw some stuff in, right? It's very intentional when we're cooking. So all of that all brings joy to you, and that all helps in the healing process as well. Because when you get to a place where you can think about mealtime in such a way as being a sacred event, as when you think about cooking as being a sacred event, you really begin to think about what's at the end of your fork going into your mouth, because you realize that what's at the end of your fork is either going to be good for you, or it's going to be a slow form of poison. So when you really consider all of those things, I mean, healing is not just, people don't get sick just because they eat the wrong foods, right? Sometimes that's the case. But when you're intentional about the foods that you eat, like for example, you say, okay, yesterday I cooked some mushrooms. I just happened to be craving mushrooms. So I said, okay, I'm going to fix some mushrooms. I had them in the refrigerator, and then I fixed some other things, but I was very intentional about what these mushrooms are going to do to my body. I know that if with Zion being on here, let me just throw this out. I got a craving for boiled green bananas the other day. So I cooked boiled green bananas. Now, if I sat down and I ate 3 boiled green bananas, I'm going to pay the price for it the next day, because 3 boiled green bananas are very heavy, right? They're very heavy. But I know that if I don't give myself that, um, it's not good for me, right? I am going to, so I sat and I ate one, and then the next day I had another one, rather than eating 2 or 3 at the same time. But boiled green bananas are not necessarily bad for anyone. It's just that when you have too much of a good thing, that can be a bad thing, right? Yes, we do love our ground foods, right? Um, so I was very intentional in giving myself what I needed, but not overdoing it, right? So you can have that slice of cake, or you can have that bowl of ice cream. Just know when to stop, because you know that if you have 2 scoops, it's going to hurt you. 1 scoop may not be so bad. But the thing is, just be very intentional in what you're putting into your mouth, right? Because food can either be, like Hippocrates said, food can either be lead to your health, and I'm putting in a nutshell, either lead to your health or it can lead to illness, right? So be very, very intentional. Um, I kind of went off on a whole different tangent, because I'm kind of following the feed and allowing you to kind of guide the discussion. But yeah, you brought up things that I did have here on my notes, so that's really good. Another tip is getting a hobby, right? Getting something that you enjoy doing. If you happen to let me see, let's just say that you were a roofer, and I'm throwing that out. I'm seeing a bunch of roofs across here that were recently redone. So prior to your diagnosis, you were a roofer. Now that you've been diagnosed, you really can't go up on a roof and do that anymore, right? So you have to kind of look for another something else. You kind of have to reinvent yourself a little bit and find something else that you can do that's going to bring you joy, but not going to endanger you, because you can't climb up on a roof anymore. Not at this time, right? So you get a hobby or some kind of craft that's going to allow you to slow down and really think about the things that matter to you at this point in your life. Because one of the things that illness does do, and we know that, it really shakes up our life, right? You get a diagnosis and boom, it is life before this diagnosis and life after the diagnosis, right? And remember at the beginning, what was this topic? The topic of today was that this whole healing thing is a wonderfully untidy personal art project. Yeah, once we get that diagnosis, we are now a before and an after, right? And I remember when I was first diagnosed, that's exactly how I was looking at it. There was life before lupus was amazing. Life before lupus was this, and life before and then I got this diagnosis, and then afterwards, and there was a long period where it seemed miserable, right? Because I was still kind of working through some things, and there was ups and downs and kind of spiraling, and until I got to a place where I found things that were helping me to heal and were working for me, and I tried all the things. I still had a hobby. I just managed to take that hobby and work with it to build a business and actually have it make money for me, rather than me standing in front of a classroom teaching it. Now I can go onto Zoom and I can teach there. So my life kind of got shaken up a little bit, yes, but it propelled me in areas where I never thought I would go. Like I started to learn herbalism, got certified there, learning about aromatherapy, all of those different things, right? So even though lupus and all of the other diagnoses I received shook up my life, I learned how to reinvent myself. And that's one of the things I encourage everyone is like, don't look at the diagnosis as being as shaking up your life in a bad way. It's kind of putting you on a path to other things that might also bring you joy that you might not even have been considering, right? So now I'm at a place where there's not so much shaking up going on. Um, and I can now share it with other people saying, there is hope. You might look at the diagnosis and see that and say that it's not, you don't see any hope there, but there is hope in it because I've been in the position of the chronic pain and the constant pain and all of those things, and I've worked through, and now I can share with you and tell you these are the things that worked for me. You can try them. They may or may not work. Some Not everything that I do may work for you because the healing journey, your healing journey is going to look different from mine. Mine is going to look different from the other person out there. But the idea is to get on your healing path, right? Zion says, I'm a pilot and I have to fly this plane in an hour. Bless up everyone. Love and healing to everyone. Yes, thank you for being here and safe travels, safe journeying for you and for everyone that's involved. Zion says, everything within a limit. Grandma used to say, too much of one thing is not good for nothing. That is the truth. Yes, I always say too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. All right. So getting a hobby, I mentioned about getting out into nature, using nature as an inspiration, collecting leaves, pine cones, and I've done a lot of natural art. I walk around and I see things like on my walks. I might see some pine cones, and I get intrigued by them because I see the what you call the Fibonacci sequence or the sacred geometry in there, and I stop and I take photographs with my phone, and sometimes I see like different wildflowers that pop up this time of year, and I stop and I take photographs. Just little things like that kind of just bring me joy. So I'd love to know I've gotten several ideas from you of what brings you joy. Feel free to just keep popping them in the chat because I love to see that. If you're not able to do the going out into the nature part, you can also do it digitally. You can go onto your phone. You can find one of those digital art apps or onto an iPad or whatever tablet you might have, and you can do something that way. That also kind of helps you to zone in and really focus on that piece of work that you might be creating. And that when you're focused on creating, just the creativity also helps to create healing and to promote healing within your body, right? And creativity is a great pain reliever. And I know that sounds weird, but it's a great pain reliever. One of the things I didn't mention about the music, because I know Zion mentioned music and I mentioned the dancing. Your body is a vibrational, that's the word. You're a vibrational being, right? There's nothing really static in your body. It's constantly moving. So sound is very, very therapeutic, and sound is very good when it comes to helping you to heal. So if you can just listen to music, there are also certain healing frequencies that you can find on YouTube. And I can, post a couple links for you to go and look at. But 528 frequency, 417, 174 frequency, I believe, is specifically for pain. So they're called solfeggio frequencies. So you can go and look them up, and they're all different frequencies, and so they're for specific things. So you can play those. It doesn't matter how loud or quiet. The idea is the vibration is there, and it helps to, especially the 174 frequency, which is specifically for the pain. I'm pretty sure it's 174. When you play that, and I would recommend playing it for about 30 days while you're sleeping, have that running in the background, and you notice the difference. I'd say you notice the difference within 2 weeks of how your body feels, and the pain would be lessening. Now, keep in mind, I am not saying to use any of these things as alternatives to you going to your doctor, okay, and to getting whatever treatment is recommended. I am suggesting trying these things in addition to doing whatever therapy is your doctor is recommending. All right. Let your doctor know that you're willing to try some alternatives or some natural therapies. See what he or she says, but do not use what I'm telling you as a substitute for going to see your doctor. Okay. I still have my team of doctors. I think I have 6 or 8 different doctors that I see, right? I have not given up any of my doctors simply because I feel amazing. Um, I still go to see them because I want to make sure that I stay this way, right? Or improve, because I'm not like perfect, but I am definitely not in a place where I was 5 years ago, right? So please make sure you are still seeing your doctors on a regular basis. And if you need to add a particular doctor to your team, then do that, right? Because like I said, I have quite a few doctors on my team. So the idea is to do more of what brings you joy, whether it's dancing, singing, painting, speaking. If you have the knack for speaking, but you're not necessarily able to, go and stand up on stage, they have amazing platforms these days called the internet. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's YouTube, so many different platforms that you can do speaking on. Zoom, right? Get a group together, start a group for whatever, support you might need. Bring your group in and be a source of encouragement for those people who might come and join your circle, right? Your journey is your own. It's going to look different from mine. It's going to look different from the other person out there. But the idea is to get on your journey and remember that it is going to be a wonderfully untidy personal art project. That is from page 231 of Fragrance After Rain by Jaiya John, the book that has inspired me to do this 31 days of lupus awareness, inspiration, motivation. And remember, healing can be a joyful thing. It is supposed to be a joyful thing. You're not supposed to be depressed throughout the whole thing, right? I'm not saying you're not going to have down days, but don't let the down days outweigh the good days, right? And your wonderfully untidy personal art project is going to be just absolutely beautiful. It will be. Take it from me. So tomorrow, that is it for today. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about, let me find day 3. It's going to come from, if you do have the book, it's going to come from page 226, and the beginning of it says when you are in pain, and that's all I'm going to leave right there. So tomorrow it comes from page 226, and I'll be back at tomorrow's Tuesday, same time tomorrow around 5 o'clock, and with hopefully another inspiring message. So I hope that these last couple of days have been motivational and inspirational for you. If you have any questions at all relating to anything that I've spoken about, please feel free to send me a direct message, to post the comment under the video. You can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All you've got to do is just type my name in, and you'll find me at some place. You'll be able to find me. So any questions at all, just simply reach out, and in one of those ways. And like I said, I do hope that you're being blessed, and that you share. If you're finding this beneficial, please share this video out to someone who you think might need it. And this is my YouTube channel, so if you're not yet a part of the family, I would be so grateful if you'd click that little red button that says subscribe. I think it's red. Yes. Click the subscribe button and join the family. And that way, also, if you click the bell, you'll get notified whenever I'm uploading new content. But these particular for the next 28, 29 days, they're going to be live. All right. So I will see you all again tomorrow, same time. Thank you so much for being here. It has been a pleasure. And this, I love this. I love seeing the comments. I love interacting in this way because, even though I come here with a notebook full of things to talk about, this is what I love to do. Have that interaction with the viewers. And, there are things that I spoke about that based on your comments that weren't even in my notebook. And I love that. I love that. All right. So I'll see you all again tomorrow.